Hey guys, what is going on? NGS back again for another video. I'm here with my good friends Chad and Trent. You might remember them from a video that we did a couple of years ago. I think it's been, what, 3 years at this point?
Yeah, what were we talking about then?
We were talking about, like...
I think we were talking about Spider-Man 3. Spider-Man 3 definitely came up in that discussion.
It definitely did. We were talking about a lot of things related to Marvel movies and such, and we were actually going to try to get something on the board rolling, you know, an actual series.
Yeah.
But, you know...
So this is the next installment. It was a little bit delayed, but now we're here.
A little bit delayed, but we're here with a new installment. 3 years in the making, people. Count it, 3.
3 years.
3 years, man. That's 48 months. 36 months. I was about to say like 4 years. If it was 4 years, we're kind of in a bad situation. Also, I don't know math apparently.
Yeah,
but yeah, we literally just got back from seeing Captain America: The Winter Soldier.
Show some respect for the good captain.
Please.
Respect.
That's a soldier.
Right?
He's
That's
fighting,
a soldier. That's a military man.
He's fighting for the freedoms that we enjoy today. Like,
right?
Yes, he is. So whatever you do in life, show some respect. Now, in regards to Captain America: The Winter Soldier, I think there were a lot of mixed emotions going into the movie, generally preconceived from the Avengers first and foremost. I think after the Avengers, you had one of two reactions from people. The first and the most obvious was that everybody was excited.
Right.
True.
Everybody was hyped for the Phase 2 of the movies, only because, like, wow, this is the first time we've ever seen this on cinema, and rightfully so. But then when we started to get the movies like Iron Man 3 and...
Yeah, see, that's my thing, because I did not see Thor 2, but I saw the Avengers and I saw Iron Man 3. And seeing Iron Man 3, I was starting to get like this queasy feeling. I was like, wait a second, Marvel's putting out a lot of movies, but is the quality going to be maintained as they're putting these out? So I was kind of coming into it with the notion, is Marvel about to fall off? Are they doing too much? But as everybody here will tell you, this movie came proper.
Trent, you wanted to say something before we get into the review?
I almost had a heart attack there. I'm not gonna lie.
From what?
It's everything. The Winter Soldier, the storyline was cracked. The action was cracked. Everything was cracked.
The Easter eggs.
If you have too much crack, you know that's how you get a heart attack.
And that's a pretty good way to describe, a pretty good definition of what we thought about Captain America: The Winter Soldier. Personally, first and foremost, I think that Captain America: The Winter Soldier was the best Marvel Cinematic Universe film, bar none.
Yeah, to deep.
And what I think, like, some people are going to be like, oh no, the Avengers, but you have to like look at the Avengers like objectively, because a lot of people watched it when it first came out and the hype factor carrying it was just too strong, because nobody really, it had never been done before. There had never been like a superhero team like legitimately on screen, you know, not counting X-Men, but it was just completely different. Avengers is completely different than X-Men. But now, like, we've had time, like, we've experienced this, Marvel movies have been coming out. They're not really surprising anymore. Like, the content themselves can be surprising, but you're not really, like, surprised when they say a new one's coming out, because they have movies planned through 2028. So nobody's surprised when they announce a new one. We're kind of just waiting to see how it's going to be. And Captain America: The Winter Soldier was very good.
Extremely good in that regard, and that's something I think we can all agree on. I mean, when you know that you have all these movies in production, you know, watching one movie in a set of 4 or 5 in one phase, it just can feel kind of like, oh yeah, I'm going to be excited for what they're going to do, but at the same time, kind of disappointed, because we know something's going to be continued in another movie, so what's the point? And with the Avengers, I think it gets a lot of flack for the wrong reasons. A lot of people say that, oh, it's not really too deep a movie. I mean, the story was building up from the past 4 movies, you know, and once you got that, it was just...
It was a culmination.
It was a culmination of all the movies, and that's for what they wanted to do with the first movie. I think that was cool, just getting everyone together. Moving forward, as we can see that things are getting a lot deeper in the cinematic universe.
There's definitely going to be some there's definitely going to be some conflict between Iron Man and Captain America. I'm calling it now.
I was blown away by it, first and foremost. It was definitely not what I was expecting, considering how uneasy I was with the past couple of Marvel films. Like I said, you guys know what I think about Iron Man 3. I think it's a...
Trash, garbage, fugazi, feculent. Bad movie.
Well, I was going to say more kosher things. But, yeah, I generally did not think it was as good as it could have been.
So it was a piss poor quality. Just a
I didn't like it at all. I thought Marvel should have been ashamed of themselves for putting that out. I think they got lazy. I think they were riding on their haunches, put out a subpar movie and expected to get away with it because of the name. And plus, it was like one of the highest grossing movies of all time. It's like up there in like the top 10 or something.
Yeah.
So they were going off a name brand successfully. But like people like us that kind of have some knowledge of the comic books and just have an appreciation for good movies, you want to see something better than that.
Yeah, I mean, I've only seen Iron Man 3 once, and as you guys know my review, I was like,
they kidnapped the president, and there was no response from anybody else.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing moving forward. They're gonna have to stage these movies in a way where it makes sense that like there's a crisis going on, but it makes sense that the other heroes kind of don't just rush in to save it. Because in this movie, like especially the way they did it without giving away any like plot details or anything, it wouldn't have really made sense for any like Avengers characters that weren't already in it to have come through. It wouldn't have made sense for Tony to like be operating in that situation. It wasn't his scene. They kind of did a very good job in distinguishing what Captain America's job is from what, let's say, the Hulk's job is or what Thor's job is.
Yeah, that is very true. In regards to Iron Man 3, I was like, whatever. But it was the movies like Iron Man 3 and, well, Thor 2, I don't know if Trent's seen it. I know you haven't seen it, right?
Yeah,
Trent, have you seen
I
it?
have not seen Thor 2.
Okay, Thor 2, it was pretty decent. It was better than the first one. I enjoyed it, but still, like, not what I was expecting, you know, pre-phase 1 going into phase 2. But I think that Cap not only delivered tenfold for both those movies, just generally, not only is it a comic book film, it's also just a really good film to watch in general.
It could stand on its own.
It stands on its own. I think that was due in part because of the fact that there's so much social commentary in the movie.
Yeah.
Social and political commentary.
It's poignant in a way.
Which was really surprising. I mean, because as you guys know, what's going on right now with the, you know, security breaches and all the things. Like, what does the Big Brother know about
The
you?
scope of the NSA surveillance is kind of like one of the questions that's being...
Yeah, that was one of the questions that was raised, and it was not something that I thought they would really touch upon. I mean, I knew there was going to be something like, do we trust S.H.I.E.L.D. after what's going on? Do we really trust who we think are the good guys? But the way they did this, it was done in a way that's not preachy, that it was not like favoring one political side like a lot of these movies tend to, not the Marvel movies, but movies in general that deal with this sort of thing tend to do. It was just done in a way that I think really works out from this film. And it also lends itself to the fact that the characters, in my opinion, have never been stronger. Like Steve Rogers, Nick Fury.
It was very balanced. You know?
It was a balanced movie.
Because in terms of I just want to bring up what you said about political themes and whatnot. With regards to the NSA and things like that, this is something that if Captain America was in our modern age, this is something that he would confront and that he would deal with and that he would voice his opinions on. Because this is not freedom, you know. And the promos and the trailers and whatnot, where he says this isn't freedom, this is fear. Like the captain is against what's going on, and it really brings out the true colors of Captain America, what he's really about. So it really just gives him and his character time to shine on the big screen.
And plus there is this notion, it's like, yeah, he's Captain America, but it's always been stated in the comics that he's not fighting for the American government, he's fighting for the American ideal. And when there's a break from that, when the American ideal becomes separated, or when the American government becomes separated from the American ideal that he grew up with and that he's used to, then he'll come into conflict with the forces that may be. So even though he wears the colors of the flag, he's not loyal to the United States government exclusively.
It's very true. It's very true. So that was the one thing I really thought shined in the movie, and it was something that I think we all kind of knew what would happen, considering he's going from the 1940s coming into the 21st century. It was something that was bound to be addressed, and I thought that really did well for his character. Chris Evans, of course, is always spot on as the captain. I think he's one of the best casting choices that they've had so far in the movies. It definitely wasn't what I expected. I mean, considering Flame On.
Yeah. Nah, Fantastic Four. That was like weird. That was like a dud looking back on it. Both the Fantastic Four movies were only all right at best.
Not even all right at best. That's like saying if you're on the side of the road and there's a rotting dead carcass, you're hungry.
Wow.
Really going off. Wow.
I mean, at least they weren't Daredevil bad.
Hey, the director's cut was better.
The director's cut was better?
Yes, it was. Michael Clark Duncan was a great Kingpin. Ben Affleck, we don't talk about him, but Michael Clark Duncan was a great Kingpin. But yeah, back on to good movies.
Yo, I feel like this just turned into a movie flame session. We're just gonna flame it.
Yeah, but no, we gotta bring it back. We gotta bring it
back to the characters. We talked about Steve Rogers. Now let's talk about something that I think me and Trent have a big disagreement on. Black Widow. I'll be the first to admit this. I have not cared once for Black Widow in these movies. I really think that they were just trying to sell her on the fact that, hey, it's Scarlett Johansson and every dude in America wants to bone Scarlett Johansson. I mean, you look at like the outfits that she wears and what they prioritize with the camera work. It seemed kind of weird in Iron Man 2. In the Avengers, they kind of strayed away from
Iron Man
that.
2?
Yeah.
Yeah, wow, she's really been like woven into that. I remember that.
Yeah, she's been in Iron Man 2. She was in Avengers, and she was in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Remember?
she was a major character.
Whiplash.
Yeah.
Mickey Rourke.
Nah, cause remember like I would have to agree with Chris. I mean, not that she's bad or anything, like she's perfectly fine. It's just that I feel like she doesn't really add anything to the movies. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel like if she wasn't there, like it wouldn't be too much of like let's say, well I can't, well actually no, I was about to give an analogy but I can't do it.
The analogy will be held for the spoiler section, but I think the main point we're trying to get at is that she felt expendable. Like if they would have,
they could have replaced her with another female lead.
With another female, even if it was something original and generic, you know.
Yeah.
It really didn't hold too much value, even going from Iron Man 2 to Avengers. But there was something about this movie, it felt a lot more genuine. Not really necessarily more in line to what we've seen in the comics in terms of her past and such, but she had more of a presence there.
Yeah.
First and foremost, it wasn't just this covert spy who's always lurking in the distance and wanted to see what happens, and then shows up just for ass shots or looking badass or something.
Yeah.
It's because her character was actually developed, and it also helped with the development of Steve Rogers' character. Because there was a whole thing, because one of the major themes of the film was trust and trust issues and things like that. You know, that whole thing, you know, when Scarlett Johansson in her past, and, you know, that whole thing brought up with Steve Rogers. What was going
Yo, we were dead. We were just discussing this as a group.
Oh, God. Yeah.
He's always talking about, oh, like my past, I was like KGB.
There was something to be said, because when you look at the time frame of these movies in relation to what it was in the comics. In the comics, when you hear Black Widow talk about her past and things dealing with the KGB and the Cold War and such, it's like, okay, this is very, you know,
that's because they introduced the character in like the 60s, 70s, so she was actually operating like the height of the Cold War.
It felt
this
like
Black Widow would have
there.
been born in 1984, like the Cold War would have been a
Yeah.
wrap.
Like in the movie,
by the time she was 6 years old.
in 1984, so we're thinking to ourselves, wait, she's doing all these missions in the KGB. The freaking wall came down like when she was 6 or something.
Yo, it's the KGB Kindergarten Division B.
Right?
They moved up from the kindergarten division. They got the diaper. They got the toddler infantry going on.
The
like,
toddler infantry.
Yo, the diaper.
The
elites,
elementary
B.
cavalry.
The
son.
diaper elites.
Oh
Tony.
my god.
So there were a couple things that didn't make sense in terms of like what she would be
Yo,
doing. Like
Soviet diaper babies.
red diapers,
Red diapers.
red hampers.
Red diapers, strong like oak tree.
But yeah, that's something I still think that we don't really see too much of her, like her issues with her past. I mean, of course, there's a one scene in the movie that does deal with her past and such, but we're not really seeing like the full effects of it. I think that might be something they touch on at a later date if she gets her own movie, which like they're proposing, or if maybe they do a TV series. While we talked about Steve Rogers and Natasha Romanoff and such, I think like one of the main things about this movie that it's gonna be kind of hard to not talk about this without mentioning spoilers: the Winter Soldier.
Oh, okay.
The Winter Soldier. Does anyone want to open this one up?
I mean, can we like reveal like his identity? Like,
I mean,
can
we
do
all
that?
know. I mean, we all know who it is.
Hold on. I mean, all right. You know what?
I'm gonna
put out a little.
Pre-spoiler
I'm not gonna say that. Like,
I'm not gonna give any like plot details away, but this is like basically standard common knowledge. If you follow any sort of Marvel comic books at all, you know that the Winter Soldier is in fact Bucky Barnes, the sidekick that fell off the train in the first movie. That's not really that much of a surprise. So we're gonna take that as given, or if not given, oops.
Sorry, you know.
But
it turns out Bruce Willis's character really was dead the whole time in The Sixth Sense. I mean,
yeah,
I guess Snape, he's a good guy too.
Right.
I don't know, man. There's all these spoiler warnings. It's crazy.
yeah,
Yeah.
in Naruto, everything happened because it was supposed to happen.
Destiny.
How about that?
How about that Destiny, bro?
Right.
Believe it.
Yeah.
Nah, but going back to that. All right, so we got the Winter Soldier. Bucky Barnes is the Winter Soldier. All right, it's out there, you know. But most likely you already knew that if you're watching this. And what they did with him was it was interesting because they didn't really feel the need That's also a good thing about the way Marvel does movies. Since they know that they're putting out more Marvel movies in the future, they didn't feel the need to like wrap everything up like at the end of this movie. I kind of like that. That's the way that Marvel does their movies because they don't need to provide an explanation for everything immediately because they know that they'll have a chance to explain it later and to flesh it out later. So while he did serve his purpose, like there's still a lot more that we're going to be hearing from Bucky Barnes.
Most definitely. That's something that I think we're going to touch on at a later date, but the way in which comic book movies are being made nowadays, they're not just being made from point A to point B, everything is resolved or not resolved, and if it's not resolved, it's a fault of the movie. They're going with more comic book style. Everything's more serial, everything's being introduced in one movie. You won't hear about it for a movie or so, but then in the third movie, it's just like...
Right, they'll bring it right back.
Yeah, so it's something very interesting, and I really did like the character of the Winter Soldier. I thought like the shit that he was pulling off was just crazy, and as far as like his level, as powerful, if not more powerful than the Captain himself, it was just crazy. Like you're in for a real treat with this movie if you're speaking specifically on the action and the adrenaline. It's just non-stop, balls to the wall, crazy stuff going on that you're seeing literally from the second the movie starts up with the main infantry on the ship. Yeah. Like you're just seeing some crazy stuff going on. I really gotta give it up to the people who did the choreography for this movie.
Yeah.
The fight sequences are like, oh.
And if people are worried about there being a lack of shield throwing, because in like the first movie he only threw the shield like 4 times, there is an abundance of shield throwing in this movie.
This movie, it never lets up. Like it's something is always going on that's always interesting. There's never like dull moments where you're sitting there saying that's not important, that's not important. Everything is developed, and it's just something that I really, it's just, it does a lot of things right that we just have not seen in really any Marvel movie.
Can we talk about the Falcon?
Yes, we can talk about the Falcon.
Yes.
Of course we can talk about the Falcon. The first legitimate black superhero in a Marvel movie, like in a Marvel Cinematic Universe movie.
Yeah, because the thing is, like, some people were thinking, like, oh, he was going to play, like, a sidekick role. But what Trevor was explaining was he was kind of, like, he was filling the role of, like, another team member. You didn't kind of have, like, the idea that he was kind of just, like, riding along with, like, Cap, like, doing, like, some things, like, little errands for Cap. But he's, like, really, like, a hero in his own right. And I think they signed the actor to, like, more movies. So we could expect at least a little involvement from him in the Avengers movies. So we'll, like, see how his character kind of plays out as this expanded universe continues to grow.
Yeah, I mean, as far as like all the characters go, everybody did what they're supposed to do, and better in that case. So characters were spot on. I thought the writing was really good. I did like how they were really conservative when it came to the comedy. It was nothing too crazy or out of this world, considering the tone of the movie, but it still had, you know, the light-hearted vibes and the moments and the humor. Yeah. I thought that was pretty good.
See, that was one of the sins of Iron Man 3. Yeah. They were trying way too hard for the jokes. And first of all, the jokes ended up not being funny. And they were devoting a lot of time to not funny jokes. So, it just took away from everything.
Oh, God. Trent, you look like you have something to say.
Nah, it's just, I haven't seen Iron Man 3, but it's just like I keep on hearing so many stories about how it's just so bad. And I'm just like, wow, it just never stops.
Yeah.
It honestly
like Captain America avoided that. Like, their humor was tactful. Like, it was in the right place.
It was never like
it was appropriate.
It wasn't. It was appropriate. It never felt like they're just trying to force it. Like, because I think that's something that you do see a lot, even in the Iron Man movies. As much as we love the first Iron Man movie, like there were just some moments where it's like you didn't have to make a joke there.
Like it's a.
So as far as it being a movie itself, it definitely pleased me as a moviegoer as well as a comic book lover. I think you guys are pretty much in agreement in that respect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So now that we've covered the review of the movie itself, this is where we can get into the real nitty-gritty stuff. Talk about all the spoilers.
Oh, spoilers. Alright, first off, Easter eggs. I know everybody likes hearing about Easter eggs.
Yeah.
So basically there's one scene where they're interrogating a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. He's like one of the higher-ups in S.H.I.E.L.D. And he's kind of like explaining the details of the big plot. And basically they have these helicarriers that can shoot down people. And then basically what he's saying is they have this plan basically in place. What was it called? Project Insight?
It was, yeah, the Insight Project. That its main goal was to basically, like what's going on nowadays, like where they're learning every single little detail about you, and they're going to be using what you've done in the past, from your SAT scores, your votes in politics, like the little things you wouldn't expect. They're going to use that to predict your future and how you'll somehow impact society.
Basically, yeah, there was a lot of preemptive murder planned. That was basically like the whole plot. Just like mass murder on crimes, basically trying to counteract crimes that haven't happened, might not have happened, and then a lot of the people that are targeted were not criminals at all. So one of the Easter egg that I was originally mentioning was this guy at S.H.I.E.L.D. was like, oh, like we have this plan in place to take out dangerous subjects such as you, Tony Stark, Bruce Banner, and he also said Stephen Strange. The Sorcerer Supreme, Dr. Stephen Strange. I was hype.
That was crazy. The Eye of Avogado.
The Eye of Avogado.
What?
So yeah,
Spell
I mean,
shit.
and the announcement's already been made that they're going to be doing a movie with him. I would say we were talking about it. We were probably pegging it 2017, probably 2018 though.
Yeah, that in and of itself, that Easter egg, like I did not see it coming. I was just, because I mean, you're expecting this stuff, but you're not making it your main focus when you're watching the movie. You're like, okay, when it happens, it happens.
Yeah.
But we were all just sitting there, and they're like, yeah, you, Bruce Banner, Stephen Strange.
Right?
Like, what the
You
hell?
perk up this whoop.
Or just say it mad nonchalant, like it's normal, like we already know who he is. We're just like, oh, everybody in the movie theater's bugging out.
For the sake of this video, though, Easter eggs, they are a major part of every Marvel movie, but when you're watching it for the first time, like I said, you're not going to be watching them expecting to find out all the Easter eggs, not trying to make it so blatantly obvious. So, for the time of this recording, we don't know too many outside of, the obvious ones that have come out. But of course, when other people see the movie multiple times and post their theories, and then once we actually get a legitimate copy, where we can go back and see a couple of things. I know they probably did sneak a couple of them in there.
Yeah, no, there's definitely more than we saw, but that's really the only one we can tell you.
Yeah.
One that we noticed.
Most definitely, but there is something I think we can all comment on a lot, and that's the after credit scene,
Yep.
which pretty much leads directly into the Avengers 2.
Yeah.
Suffice it to say, for those who are wondering, let's just say that the remaining members of, I assume, Hydra's still going to be around. They're definitely around. They're not completely gone.
Yeah.
Let's just say they've gotten their hands on. Something very powerful, and we get our first look at two characters who are going to be featured prominently in the Avengers 2. And that is, of course, Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch.
Yep.
Oh wow!
So basically, what they had was they had Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch in basically two separate jail cells. And Quicksilver, he was kind of like freaking out. He was just like sprinting like really quick, like to different parts of his cell. And then Wanda, Scarlet Witch, she was kind of just like floating like these wooden blocks, and then at the end she kind of like just like forced him to do something crazy. So
And they also have Tesseract plasma.
yeah, they had like a scepter. Did it have something to do from Thor?
It looked like Loki's scepter.
Yeah, it did look like it looked like the scepter that Loki had. I don't know.
But it's not a scepter. It looked very similar to it, though.
Yeah.
Oh, something else. Though.
And I guess it's going to be interesting to see how they play this, because in the comics, Wanda and I want to say that Quicksilver's name is Massimo.
It's Pietro.
It's Pietro, yeah. So Wanda and Pietro, they're Magneto's children. But as you probably know, Fox actually has the rights to X-Men. So even though these characters are going to be featured, they're probably going to alter their stories a bit so that they have no relation to Magneto or the entire X-Men universe.
I don't even think I think they said they're not even going to be mutants in this one. They're going to be something different.
Yeah.
Which I guess it makes sense with what you got to do. What you got to do in that case. Hopefully it's not too out of this world insane. But as far as that goes, in terms of Easter eggs for stuff that you can look forward to in the future, that was basically it again from what we're knowing. But yeah, dude, in general, since we're on the topic of spoilers, man, they pushed the bar in a lot of ways in this movie, like in ways that you would not expect.
Yeah. All right, at this point, because you're in the point of the video where spoilers will be abundant. By the end of this, so basically, here's my biggest warning, because this is actually a major plot point. So if you have any objection, turn off your computer now, close your browser, shut the power off, or whatever.
Throw the computer out the window.
Right.
Do what you gotta do, man.
Make sure you got a protection plan on that though, so you can get a new one.
Yeah.
Oh,
get the warranty. Go to Staples. Buy a new laptop at Staples. But no, basically, by the end of Captain America: The Winter Soldier, S.H.I.E.L.D. is gone. S.H.I.E.L.D. is dissolved. The major players join different organizations or begin to operate as independents. You have Maria Hill, Colby Smulders' character. She was interviewing at Stark, right?
Yeah, she was at Stark Industries.
Yeah, Sharon Carter, Agent 13, she goes to the CIA. it was weird, her character. I feel like we're gonna see a lot more of her in the next Cap movie, Cap 3, because in the comics she's actually Peggy Carter's niece. She's like Peggy Carter's American niece, and then like she's a Shield operative that works really closely with Captain America. And she was a Shield operative, but we didn't really hear much from her after like just like a little stint. So it's just gonna be interesting to see how the Marvel universe continues without Shield. Like, are they gonna have like? I just really just don't know. I don't even have any predictions at this point how they're gonna go forward without Shield. How the Avengers are gonna function without Shield, kind of as like an overseeing organization.
It was definitely a ballsy move. I didn't expect that they were.
I didn't expect them to do all that. I expected them to do like maybe like a purge, like a purifying through Shield, maybe like downsizing it or like trying to get rid of
the members that are overtaken. But what you realize in the movie, what's revealed is that it was all an infiltration from the very beginning from Hydra. Basically, what happened is they extracted, which what happens at every war. If you have intelligence in a neighboring country and they can provide some use to you, obviously you extract a lot of people from an enemy. No matter what you can do, if you have a certain amount of them, they're going to start talking, and then it all happens. Like it's the biggest thing. The biggest way to bring down a stable organization or group or anything, it's not from outside. There's only so much you can do. But when you're on the inside, that's what can affect it the most. So it was all this planning for the past like 70 years or so of infiltrating S.H.I.E.L.D. and its members and the plans what they were doing. So basically everything S.H.I.E.L.D. has been doing.
Basically S.H.I.E.L.D. has had double agents in it since the beginning. Basically what this movie reveals is that Hydra has had an abundance of operatives operating inside of S.H.I.E.L.D. basically since S.H.I.E.L.D.'s inception, like back, right after World War II.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, it's just going to be interesting because S.H.I.E.L.D. is like always in Marvel Comics. Like it always comes back to S.H.I.E.L.D. or it was later known as like Hammer in the comic books, but now they seem to have done away with it completely. But I just don't understand how you do away completely with an organization that big, like with all the helicarriers, all the employees.
The amount of helicarriers they destroy.
Right.
We lost all 3 of them, Cap. What do we do?
Yeah. So I just really don't know how they're gonna move forward. I mean, they're gonna come up with something. They're creative guys at Marvel.
It seems like it's gonna be kind of harder for them to get together. I mean, obviously there's gonna be a major reasoning why in Avengers 2.
Yeah.
But it's definitely, it's not that it's a change that's out of line with anything. It's just something that you would expect it, but in the way they're doing it, it's it's a grander scale. It's like literally everything about this. There's like only a few members left, and of course, like something Captain America said in the movie, the price of freedom is high, but I'm willing to pay it. There are people, as you see in the movie, who are willing to go down to the ends of the earth for not just the captain, but for what they believe in. So we'll probably hear something about that in the following movies. But yeah, was there anything else you guys want to talk about in the spoiler section?
It's not really. It doesn't really have anything to do with the spoilers, but I was just actually thinking about the point that Chad made about Batroc the Leaper, and how they actually, it's just really like the small things. It's just like even the small things that they do, just like the small attention to detail that they pay, which really brings the whole thing together. Like I didn't know that about how Batroc the Leaper, about how his fighting style, a lot of jumps and leaps and flips and things like that, but they did make it look ridiculous. Because I did notice that he was kind of jumping around and leaping and kind of doing like a lot of backflips and evasive maneuvers, things like that. And that's a really good way they paid homage to Batroc the Leaper. Another way was Crossbones. He never actually did they actually refer to him as Crossbones?
No, they didn't refer to him as
Crossbones. They never actually referred to him as Crossbones, but Crossbones is in the film as one of the lesser known villains, but still playing a pretty big role in the film also.
Yeah, he's one of the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents that was really working with Hydra for a long time.
Yeah. So, it's just small things like that in terms of detail and just bring it all together.
I thought that one of the things, I don't know if it's just me being speculatory, is that his holsters, they kind of made like the crossbones.
Yeah.
I think that was just me, but maybe it was just the holster, so I'm probably overthinking it. But
no,
yeah,
I think it was on purpose. I think it was on purpose.
Yeah.
Kind of looked like
and
that.
then he was like scarred up kind of at the end.
So it's gonna be like.
So it would make sense that he's wearing a mask, I guess, when we see him next.
Probably Captain America 3. He might be the main villain in that respect. Yeah. But I guess after all that, I'm pretty much done talking about Captain America. Gentlemen, anything else? Last thoughts you want to say? Speak now, forever hold your peace.
Nah, I think that's pretty much a wrap. It's definitely a must see.
It is definitely a must see. It's definitely the best film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You just gotta go see it.
Yeah, the future of Marvel movies remains to be seen. But so far, they seem to be on track. We were a little bit worried with Iron Man 3. We were all just like, oh, is this it? Is this the end? Are they falling off? But Captain America caught us right back.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens in these upcoming years.
It's the dream day with Iron Man 3.
Right?
But yeah, for Media for Now, guys, I'm NGS signing off for Chad and Trent, and we will catch you guys later. Peace. Yep.